Good afternoon, Commissioners, and over to you, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss, and welcome everyone to the Tuesday, January 27th, 2026 Board Work Session. Our next topic is federal direct funding requests and 2026 state legislative session preview. Turn it over to our expert team.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Board. For your record, I am Erin Doyle. I am now the Policy and Government Affairs Division Manager. It's a quick title change, but no further extra duties yet.
Just you wait, huh?
It's
all the opportunity.
Good afternoon, Board. I am Carly Silva Gabrielson, one of your government relations managers.
Good afternoon, Zakir Khan, Government Relations Manager here in Washington.
And Pablo is out sick, but available for questions online. We will go ahead and get started. We only asked for 45 minutes, and then we gave you probably 4 hours worth of content. So we'll do our best to get through it really quickly. We're going to go over federal congressional directed funding process and ask for your ranking of the potential projects, and then have a fairly substantive conversation with you about the legislation, the short legislative session coming up. We've have the 4 policy questions here, but after each section have put the policy questions again for refreshment. So we'll start with the federal directed funding requests. This has become an annual process at the federal level by which they directly apportion parts of their grants programs into projects selected by congressional representatives, both on the Senate and the House side. Every year the rules change. We haven't seen all the rules for this year because they're not done with last year's budget that started on October 1st. We're waiting for those last bills to get across the threshold, and we're not sure how that's going to work out, but it doesn't stop them from starting next year. So we are starting early, coming to you to ask you for your rankings individually, which we then add up and set the priorities for the county instead of having you all have to come to consensus. The 5 recommended projects that we have worked with Van Scoyk Associates, our federal lobby team, and our internal staff to bring to you for your consideration are listed here, and I'll give a brief explanation of each of them. But they're ranging between $2 and $3 million, which is the range that is recommended for asks. We very rarely get the full amount, so we are mindful of can we complete the project with available funding here, if not given the full amount. The Basalt Creek Bridge right-of-way project. So this is the Basalt Creek Parkway Extension project. It's a small portion of that overall larger project that your board has discussed and worked with LUT to get ready. This is to prepare and continue work forwarding the important industrial development area connection to the interstate system. It's just that portion that would take care of the right-of-way. This would come with a local match process here through the grant program that we would be going after. The Forest Grove housing comes as a need from our Housing Services Department to cover some gaps in financing to this 60-unit project in Forest Grove. We are currently partnered with Central Cultural and Care Oregon and Metro through their Affordable Housing Bond Program. The board has provided authorization for multiple parts of this project since 2024, including your work as part of the Housing Authority Board of Directors. This will close a gap in financing that was unexpected and is a little bit larger because of funding that may be potentially pulled back from the state due to their budget concerns. The Hillsborough Bridge Shelter Project would request the beginning of the process for siting and design of a replacement to the current shelter that is located in Hillsborough across from Shoe Park. The current facility is coming to the end of its useful life, and Housing Services is ready to start work to find a location and design that meets community needs. The jail staff support upgrades would be part of the overall jail improvement project. It was a small breakout of things that facilities believes we could do now, and would provide areas for the jail staff, the improvements to the areas that the jail staff use for breaks and respite to allow our facilities team to create trauma-informed spaces as your board continues on the fuller project of the jail expansion work that you are doing. And finally, the Walnut Street upgrades. This is a portion of the work that needs to be done to create the seismic upgrades necessary to the facility to become the Emergency Operations Center. It would cover the HVAC and solar improvements that are needed for now. It would not get us far enough down the road to get seismic, but it is a portion of the project, and we'll take every bit of funding that we can. So as in years past, we are asking you to individually rank these from number 1 in your mind to number 5 in your mind. I just need your numerical values and I will chart it all out and then I will do very fast math to determine what the overall board priorities are. But I'm happy to answer questions about the projects and then have your board give me your numbers.
So we're doing that now together.
Mhm.
And I forgot to mention that we have a full complement of board members. This is Chair Catherine Harrington. I'm joined by Vice Chair Commissioner Jerry Willey, Commissioners Pam Treese and Jason Snyder here in the room, and Commissioner Fye is attending virtually on camera. So who would like to go first? Otherwise, I'll kick it off. I'll dive into the deep end. 4, 1, 5, 2, 3.
4, 1, 5, 2, 3. Making sure I got that correct. They are currently in alphabetical order. Thank you, Chair.
My first is Gale, second is Basalt Creek, and everything else is kind of tied.
Accept that.
We're not saying why we're doing it. Right.
Correct.
We're in a hurry, that's what.
I don't know if we are.
We do, we're not asked as to why the
Okay.
rankings by the federal delegation.
I am guess I haven't prepared them numerically. Hold on.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I can't hear other than Chair Harrington and the staff. Commissioner Snyder, do you mind using the mic?
We have moved them closer.
That was perfect.
I think I'm 23514.
Thank you.
With that, I'm going to go, I don't have them listed as quite succinctly as Jason. I'm going to do Forest Grove 1, JL 2, probably Walnut 3, and the other two, 4 and 5, pick one.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fye?
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going off of institutional memory, sort of like what we've been advocating at the federal level. So I'll say Walnut Street 1, Basalt Creek 2, and then Forest Grove 3, and Jail 4, and then Hillsborough Shelter 5.
Thank you all. I know that's not an easy task. And with that, I will turn it over to the rest of the team for the state session.
Thank you, Erin. Again, commissioners, my name is Carly Silva Gabriel. I'm one of your government relations managers. I have the honor of being the majority of the government relations show today. So you'll spend some time with me as we dive into some policy slides. But first, we turn to our state legislative calendar. I did want to highlight that the government relations team returns to the board on February 10th for our next update, and then we will also spend time with you on February 24th. We also are expecting the revenue forecast on February 4th, which is going to set a large tone for the legislative session. So jumping right in, the next several slides are going to focus on the Oregon Jobs Act, which is Senator Solman's bill, and is intended to strengthen Oregon's competitiveness in advanced manufacturing and expand tools related to land readiness, incentives, and enterprise zones. At a high level, the goals of the bill aligns with broader efforts to grow the state's tax base, create jobs, and support long-term economic investments. As I walk through the bill, I'll also highlight several areas where county subject matter experts have provided feedback on implementation details and how the bill would function over time at the local level. Our goal throughout providing feedback has been to support the bill's broad economic development goals while flagging implementation considerations early when they're the easiest to address. And I also want to highlight that under current statute, there is no mechanism that provides cost recovery for counties associated with enterprise zone management. Right, jumping into some of the details. On the land use part, the bill proposes the inclusion of approximately 1,700 acres north of the city of Hillsborough for inclusion into the urban growth boundary, specifically to be designated for advanced manufacturing. As drafted, the bill requires both the county and city land use and zoning amendments prior to annexation, creating what we viewed as a duplicative process that could add time and complexity to initial implementation. So to streamline this process, we provided feedback and requested a revision so the land could be annexed directly into the city of Hillsborough. This change would clarify the jurisdictional responsibility and also avoid unnecessary county code amendments and reduce procedural complexity. And this slide talks about the enterprise zone revision specifically. The bill does propose changes to enterprise zone policies, including adjustments to school fee provisions and extending the length of tax abatements. For standard enterprise zones, the abatements would increase from 3 to 5 years to 10 years. And for rural enterprise zones, that could increase up to 15 years as the bill is written. These changes increase the scale and the duration of incentives, which have a unique downstream impact for counties in particular. As enterprise zones have expanded over time, the county's role has also expanded, given the compliance monitoring, reporting, and staffing required to administer the current 61 accounts in Washington County with active enterprise zone agreements. Additionally, when exemptions are legally challenged, appeals impact the county general fund due to reassessment, valuation work, and legal defense. I want to note that the appeal cost estimate on the slide has been refined based on our updated input from the assessor's office. The appeal averages closer to $175,000 per case rather than the earlier noted $300,000 per appeal. However, I do also want to flag that the industry trend data for these appeals averages them at about $250,000 per appeal.
What drives an appeal?
That's a great question, Commissioner. Often it really has to do with the details of what is providing the tax abatement. So it may be that the assessor's office has determined that a piece of equipment has been moved, and so the valuation has to change. And an appeal would be that company refuting the change. For that question. So as tax abatements are expanded or extended, the associated costs for the county also increases and persists longer. In addition to discussing cost recovery more broadly, we have suggested an alternative approach that focuses on governance more than the fees. Specifically, we've shared draft language that would require cities and counties to enter into an intergovernmental agreement when an enterprise zone is created or extended. The intent there is to ensure that there's clarity upfront about the administrative compliance, monitoring, and appeal-related responsibilities associated with the exemption. This approach, we believe, creates flexibility for our local partners to work out those details collaboratively rather than relying on a one-size-fits-all model in statute, and would benefit the focus of economic development in the region. We have shared this concept on the intergovernmental agreements with the bill sponsors and local partners as one potential way to address the implementation impacts while preserving the broader economic development goals of the bill and ensuring that counties have a mechanism for cost recovery. Lost track of my pages. Wonderful. So given the impacts, I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost my track of my place there. Apologies. So This is my last slide talking about the meat of the Oregon Jobs Act. And then I'll pause for questions and board deliberation. I did want to highlight on this last slide that the bill creates a new option for local property tax exemption for new or modernized machinery and equipment used by advanced manufacturing businesses. We've requested clarification on which entity is responsible for the administration, enforcement, and appeals, whether it's the Department of Revenue or county assessment offices. And if counties are responsible, we are requesting clear cost recovery authority to address the workload for that administrative responsibility as well. Wonderful. Now turning to our policy questions. So with that context, I will pass the conversation over to you, Chair, but I will pose the policy questions to help guide that. Does the board need additional information about the Oregon Jobs Act or the revisions that we have recommended? And secondly, does your board support the bill with the revisions that we've requested?
Off, or do you want?
I can be quick about it. I think the revisions that have been requested are well thought through and I support them. And given that and our goals, I think as a state and a county, I support the economic development aspects of the Oregon Jobs Act as it's currently proposed with your revisions.
I'll see no one, I'll dive in. Similarly, I think the solutions that you shared with us as you proposed are really elegant. So adding to Commissioner Snyder's description, and I fully support moving forward with what you have on the table.
Could I ask a question about the revisions? That's the revisions that we're talking about here are from our perspective. And those provisions, what we're doing here is finding alignment about those provisions. We don't know how those revisions will sit as they are presented.
But we're also saying we can support it if these revisions are included.
Right. Okay. And I guess I am in support of LC 237. I want to make sure that I understand how we can get to that level of support if these revisions are not accepted as well. I would agree that I'm in alignment, but if these revisions are not acceptable, I'd want to have further discussion. I wouldn't want us to walk away from the table, is what I'm saying.
I concur with that. I shared those concerns about the cost recovery in a meeting with Senator Solomon where Carly was there as well. So you're right. I would have difficulty supporting the bill without county cost recovery mechanisms. Yeah.
But I'm also saying that if our revisions are not acceptable, I'd want to have the
We're not just going to automatically oppose the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay. On point.
Thank you, Commissioner Therese. And I do plan to return to the board on the 10th with more updates, but we will find a means to communicate between now and then as well.
Commissioner Fye, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Chair Anton, thank you. I could wait if you want to go through the people of the board in the room.
No, we're ready for you.
Okay, thank you. Staff, Carly and staff, thank you. This has been an interesting bill to dive in and learn more about. And as I understand it, through my homework, this isn't the first time Senator Solomon has tried. So I appreciate her work on that. And I think this is the 5th attempt to bring something like this forward. Besides that, I do have some trepidations about this bill. I do support the recommendations or some of the changes you were offering from the county's perspective. I do support that. However, I do need to have more conversation with Senator Solomon around if the 1,700 acres land is necessary, or is there other opportunities to sort of to provide amendments to that bill in terms of removal and what else to add on. I also do have some concern as a mom who has 3 kids that are in the Beaverton School District, even though this impacts the Hillsborough School District. I feel like we succeed as a county when all schools are successful and have all the resources that they need. So I'm concerned about the tax breaks that the Hillsborough schools are going to face. And I think I've seen some numbers around to the tune of 120 million in 2024 alone. So so I'm concerned. I'm also concerned about the 5-year to the 10-year. So I have a lot of concerns about this bill that isn't for us as a county, but for us as a board to to really have a conversation with the champion of the bill to figure out what's realistically movable and winnable within this bill and what can be removed, considering the trepidations that not only exist with me, but some of the community members as well. So I say that to say to the staff, I am not in a place to support as it is, as I have a lot of questions and a lot of conversations to be had. But I do want to say that I appreciate all the work you staff have done and all the resources that you've provided to me and to learn more about this LC legislative concept. And you have my commitment to further engage with the legislatures about this topic and to bring myself along on that journey to see what I feel comfortable.
For that, Commissioner Fry. We certainly will follow up on all of those things. And I did neglect to mention previously that statewide organizations are also looking at this bill right now, the Association of Oregon Counties and the assessors, recognizing that the work that the Washington County's Assessor's Office has been doing could expand for other counties and other assessors. So thank you for your feedback.
Willie,
I think it's there's a lot to this that isn't going to be necessarily included in the legislative part, but it's important to note, I believe, that currently the city of Hillsborough has the bulk of these enterprise zone applications. Not all of them are data centers, and not all of them are active. And it's also important to note that City of Hillsborough is the only one that shares the fee. The fee is $50,000. They're the only ones that share that with the county. And I don't know. I've asked the question, what's the other cities do? And it's unknown. So there isn't a consistency about how we deal with enterprise zone applications across the county. And I think that's important. I don't know that that's necessarily addressed in this bill. What my preference would be, because I would just assume we function as a county and we partner with our cities. I would much prefer to have an IGA outside of the legislative issues because, quite frankly, we know what we're dealing with. The cities know what we're dealing with. When we take it outside and we go to legislature, there's lots of people that have no idea how this works. I don't even know how many enterprise zones there are across Oregon, but I'm guessing there's quite a few. So I would just assume that we would deal with this, quite frankly, internally meaning within the boundaries of Washington County, and deal with an IGA that sets the standard across the board. When we set that standard, then we can begin discussing the real cost of maintaining that system. And basically, if you want to do easy math, you divide it by how many enterprise zone applications we got to go through every year. So 400,000 divided, $400,000 covers all 61 properties.
yes, per year.
That's what it says here. So yeah, we do the math on that. And the number isn't astronomical, that we would have to modify some things to get to that number. And I think we could get there much easier than legislatively. Having said that, I like what is in this bill from the standpoint of We, as a county, 16% of the taxes abated comes to the county. We can't afford to go another 5 years. And the purpose of these things was to be economically developmentally driven to incentivize not only employment, but to incentivize other companies to come alongside as suppliers and providers. And so it was an economic impact that's much bigger than just the enterprise zone itself. And keeping that in mind, that's how we would go about structuring the IGA to make sure that we got cost recovery as best we can. And then the appeal process, that's kind of a different thing. That's a new thing, if I understand it correctly. Have these been appealed previously? Did it cost us $300,000 or $150,000?
My understanding, I don't know, Alex, you sat up straight. I can't speak to the history of it. We don't have that information, but I will say that it is my understanding that Marnie Kyle's going to come and say words that are smart.
Here's the phone a friend.
Hi, for the record, Marnie Kyle, one of the assistant county administrators. And what I would say is we have had appeals to taxes as long as we have sent tax bills. And so the average county tax or county cost to each of these appeals is about $50,000. And what we're seeing with the easy appeals, because of the level of nationally expert tax abatement attorneys, because of that level, that we are needing to bring on additional help and so that's why the cost has gone up. So we've always seen businesses appeal taxes, just like personal residents can sometimes appeal taxes. But just the growth in that industry has increased our cost and increased the number of appeals.
There's the reason why that, if I hear you correctly, that we want to hire this consultant that expertise in this area is because, again, more information, the community service fees that the city gets from these taxes, abated taxes, community service fee is based on that. Again, it's a discussion that the cities have with the applicant, not engaging us. But if this appeal was successful, stating basically that we over-assessed, it would impact the money that would have to go back from the cities back to the applicant, because the applicant has paid a community service fee based on X amount of dollars of value. And if that value is reduced, then community service fee goes back. That's not a small number that we're talking about. So there's a whole bunch to this that can't be incorporated into this, but it does make this a much more complex legislative issue from my standpoint to get through accurately. And so that's my concern. I don't have I don't have a problem with all the rest of the modifications that you put in here. So, and I support what you presented here. It's just, I think we have more work to do on the E-zones.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So I have heard what you had to say, and that includes the supporting the provisions that they are requesting, but also highlighting, some additional work and information you'd like to see on E-zones. The part that I just want to confirm with people who know more than I do is if I heard you correctly, going just the IGA route versus putting things in statute, there is no teeth behind requiring local governments who have E-zones to share revenue with us. And we've been doing property tax assessments for 64 taxing districts for decades. And I know I've talked to the mayors for multiple years now about the costs of doing that, and nobody's volunteering to help offset those costs. So while I can appreciate your sentiment, I, unless there's some data I'm not privy to, right, that I'm just not understanding, I just don't see that it's realistic compared to the solution set that our staff is proposing. Once again, I think it's elegant versus just a one size fits all approach. But I also believe, as I think you supported in your comments, that there's work for other counties and that you're sympathetic to that. At least my words, not yours.
The enterprise zone thing is also not as simple as just like one city, one county. Like even the enterprise zone that the city of Tigard administered included parts of Lake Oswego at their request, and much of that was in Clackamas County. Like I don't know that it's as simple as just
Well,
like
it's not
let's agree in
simple.
an IGA.
I didn't mean to imply this is simple. This is complex, and what makes it complex is we don't know what everybody else is doing. So in your particular case, in the Tigard enterprise zone, that was a deal between Tigard and whoever was in Clackamas County, and we don't oversee that, and we don't manage that. I think this legislation tries to put some boundaries on this, but I don't think. I mean, to me, if we want to really put everybody on the same playing ground, we would go again the IGA rate. I thought IGAs kind of spelled it out, and we all played by the. If we agreed to the IGA was enforceable. I mean,
well, once you agree to it, but there's nothing that
Requires that.
requires it, and that's the key point. So
I think the key is right now, there's nothing even to require them to come to the table to discuss an IGA.
so does this do
And
that?
so that's the language that we're proposing that simply requires them to come to the table with the county and discuss an IGA. Doesn't say what's going to be in the IGA. That's where we're
being clear on here are the current facts, the current data on costs.
Okay, well, I'll be the devil's advocate on that. That is on slide 11, I'm guessing, where it says clear authority to recover administrative and compliance costs when enterprise zones are expanded or extended. Okay. Who's going to determine administrative and compliance?
We argue that that should be determined in the IGA that is implemented when the enterprise zone is created or extended, and that would be a local option that both the city and county would negotiate. So not a one size fits all, but a mechanism in the legislation to provide for that enforcement.
Which I think is what you were looking for.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I didn't track with the one size fits all because administrative fees are administrative fees. So whoever has an EZ pays an administrative fee that's been established.
But it's not just the first time. It's the fees to administer over the course of years. There's the application time, right, to establish it, but then there are these annual costs every single year.
Yes, I agree. I understand that.
Okay.
$400,000 a year.
our use of the language administrative fees is the cost, and I think there was wording on a different slide, but the A&T costs for monitoring compliance, doing the assessment. What you might be thinking about that there's an application fee, and that's what right now Hillsborough charges an application fee, and through an IGA they share part of that fee, half of that fee with Washington County. The other cities have not entered into an agreement with Washington County to share part of that application fee. And so that might be what's a little bit confusing is when in that slide, we're talking about administrative fees being the cost to the counties.
Yeah, and this is intended to have everybody with an EZ
participated.
participate in the administrative and compliance costs.
Yes.
And I, just to clarify, the one size fits all that Carly was referring to is saying every project sponsor has to provide every county $100,000. That would be a one size fits all. Instead, we're saying, let's have a local conversation about how we implement
How
policies.
much
of our
work
board.
is this going to be?
Mhm,
How much is the cost to administer?
Exactly.
I'm good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Much
Thank
work
you.
ahead.
I have a quick question for you, Carly, just so I'm clear on slide 11, if you could go there. County request maintaining current time frame. What you're saying is keep the 5 years?
That's correct, Commissioner Fye. That is some feedback that we have provided, just given the direct impact to county assessors for the workload, but also the foregone property tax revenue for the county, which is a
Right.
significant piece
Absolutely.
of that question.
Full support for that.
We have more.
We do. Now we'll turn to the other small topic at hand, the state of our transportation funding. The next 3 slides will provide an update on where things stand with transportation funding and the efforts to repeal, redirect, and rebuild, the 3 Rs. Recently, Legislative Council confirmed that once a bill has been referred to voters, the legislature cannot repeal it. So as a result, legislative leadership announced plans to introduce a bill that will set the timing of the referendum for the May election. Subsequently, legislative negotiations are being led by a group of 8 lawmakers and are focused on how the state will manage the near-term funding pressure and are currently examining options to redirect existing revenue from HB 2017 to address ODOT's projected budget shortfall, which is currently estimated to be 242 million for 2026, and an additional 50 million that they'll be seeking to find for 27. The emphasis has been on redirecting the existing resources in the short term, and options are under discussion to include redirecting previously approved project funding, shifting bridge and culvert safety dollars, and making targeted program reductions such as programs like Safe Routes to Schools. I also want to flag that there have been discussions kind of broadly about whether changes to the distribution formula, the 50-30-20, should be addressed to help cover the shortfall. However, it is not currently an item that the group of 8 lawmakers are actively considering as a short-term solution.
But I'm really glad that you have that on the radar, because the effort that it took folks through the end of the long session was impressive.
Thank you for that, Chair. I think we all know that we are in a fiscal reality where nothing can be taken for granted. All of those historical norms that we have relied on are being overturned. Our next slide. Legislative leaders are also discussing the creation of a formal committee or work group that will do the work of rebuilding a comprehensive transportation package for the 27 session. Few details have been shared publicly, but active planning is underway, and there are expectations that this work could begin as early as February 26 and continue through the 2026 interim and conclude ahead of the 27 session. I will note that plan and that schedule was discussed before the news that the legislature could not repeal the bill. So there are some ongoing conversations about can the work be done to redirect at the same time that they're looking at building the 27 package. So I would anticipate that maybe that work for rebuilding in 27 doesn't start until the conclusion of the short session.
So this rebuild, like this process you just outlined, sounds eerily similar to what was proposed just 2 years ago, and that they, or a year and a half ago, that they completely failed to deliver on. So what's going to be different this time?
That was all the trips, all the stops all over the state. Yeah.
I mean, like literally, this looks like unless they're going to behave differently, I don't get it. Because like where that went sideways from my assessment is nobody was actually talking to each other. They needed to be talking to each other. And not the real conversations weren't happening. So do you have a sense that's going to be different?
I wish that I could say in good faith, yes. However, there are some outstanding questions about what the process is going to be, how the tables are going to be assembled. So your sentiment and a feeling of deja vu is shared by, I think, everyone working in the transportation space.
I do think that the way that the Republicans came back had reframed a lot of how people were intend to approach this. I think that there is that
There'll be some learning.
yeah, I hope so.
Excuse me.
Know how I could put words to the face you just made. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'll go on. So as a part of these early conversations about what rebuilding a package for 27 could look like, there have been increasing discussions about expanding local transportation revenue options, including the vehicle registration fees, other locally adopted taxes, and removing existing limitations on local revenue raising. But I do want to flag, and we will be communicating that even if local governments were able to adopt all available options, and even if voters supported them, these tools would generate very different outcomes across the state due to the different population sizes and taxes. So increasing local revenue options is not a solution to backfilling ODOT's revenue hole. That dynamic is raising important equity questions as policymakers consider how responsibility for transportation funding should be shared between the state and local governments. This last slide, just wanted to highlight that transportation policy is entering a multi-year transition period as the decisions made in 26 and 27 will certainly shape Oregon's transportation system for the next decade or longer. The outcomes of these conversations will directly affect county road maintenance and safety investments, the balance between state and local transportation costs, and the future of congestion relief and freight mobility throughout the region. For Washington County in particular, protecting our transportation interests will require a sustained and coordinated engagement as we have been providing with regional partners, legislators, ODOT, and the governor's office as these discussions move forward. And now I'll turn to our wonderful owl and the policy questions for the board. Again, I'll turn the conversation over to you, Chair Harrington, but we'll pose a question. Does the board need additional information regarding the transportation funding landscape?
Go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
I have a question on slide 14, the redirect. Have we been thinking about what our priorities are in relationship to those options that are under discussion? Because it's alarming to me that we're even looking at revising 50, 30, 20. I mean, I'm not alone in that. So but where does that sit in when you look at reductions to safe routes to schools or the bridge and culvert safety? I think I hope that we are going to be involved in influencing to the degree possible what those priorities are.
Absolutely. Great question, Commissioner Treese. It is hard to pick a favorite child, but I will say 50, 30, 20, I know is at the top of the county list. There have been really productive conversations with AOC and LOC transportation lobbyists talking about all these priorities. Those conversations are also occurring at the JPAC lobbying table on how we can address what priorities will unite the region in these conversations. So 50, 30, 20 among them, transit funding, both the short-term and long-term funding. And I know programs like Safe Routes to Schools are really important as well. So I think we need to return to the board with what priorities could look like. However, we also are anticipating that the group of 8 will release some sort of information. So I think we'll have policy to react to.
Thank you.
I guess I'd like to know what each of those bullets, not the last one, what each of those bullets represent money-wise, because the conversation I had a few days ago was cutting the shuttle allocation for which would have a pretty significant impact to our shuttle system here in Washington County. And so I'd kind of like to have a better sense of what exactly this is. We're trying to fill a $242 million budget shortfall with ODOT.
Yeah, what's still there
Where's the
in the
potential?
Yeah,
Bill 2017
yeah.
revenues?
Great question. I'll return to the board with that information. I do have a little bit of that. I do know that the county allotment for 2026 from HB 2017 totals 254 million. So I think that was why maybe in the very beginning of these conversations, some lawmakers were viewing that as an attractive way to backfill
Go
ODOT's.
from Peter to pay Paul. Oops.
Yep,
Did
no
I
kidding.
say that?
Let's
I'll
not
follow up with
fix the
that
problem.
information.
Let's just move the problem.
Anyone else have any questions? And if you could go back to the question for us as a group. Because I'm going to print all the slides. Do you have any further information needs on the transportation funding landscape?
I just had one a few weeks ago that I just remembered, and that is I don't know on the transportation ones that's been referred back to the voters, what's left on the table, and what is that projected revenue impact?
Great question.
Because I know vehicle registration fees are still available. I mean, didn't they already increase them?
They did increase some in the prior actions.
We'll do the analysis and
Yeah.
get back in a written
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, I
The
just
whole
need
board.
to understand a little bit more what I'm going to be voting on.
So to make sure I'm being aware of everyone, I didn't see any other information needs in the room. Commissioner Fye?
Thank you, Chair. Carly, I think I've been hearing a lot of concerns from the community around protecting safe routes to school. And I wonder if you think a letter from this board will be helpful to sort of draw them, where are we as a Washington County? What are we saying to our legislatures to cut and not to cut? I know that these are hard decisions they're going to have to make, but these also have real difficult impacts to our region and our constituents and residents. So what do you think about proposing a letter that we send to the legislatures of where we are so that it's clear what we're advocating and where we stand on this landscape of cuts?
Well, first, that's really a question to the full board.
Okay.
And as we heard earlier, our great staff has committed to bringing us and reminding us of House Bill 2017 revenues as they stand today, and other revenues that Commissioner Willie talked about. So I don't want to suggest we put the cart before the horse. Let's get the information from staff because, I appreciate your sharing community input you've gotten thus far. I know I've received some. I know other commissioners have as well. We just haven't brought that to voice today, and partly because we know we need some further information before moving forward. Does that sound reasonable?
Very much, yes.
Okay. Do you have any other questions on this transportation funding landscape?
No additional questions for me. Yeah.
So let's keep going, please.
Commissioners, I'll be discussing elements of the immigrant rights package that was announced in the last couple of weeks by the legislature. So there's a couple bills listed here. This is not the entire package, and as bills come out tomorrow, we will start to unfurl what the package looks like. And so I will return to the board with more information on that package if the board chooses to endorse it. But just to name a couple of bills here, at the top is adding immigration status as a protected class, like other protected classes, so that you can prevent discrimination in a multitude of settings. Creating a civil action for constitutional violations by federal agents, and requiring notification to the State Department of Justice before an immigration action, either 48 hours in advance or 2 hours where there's an emergency detention potentially happening. Guidelines for state offices when ICE requests information, a prohibition of state contracts with those who are participating in deportations, and the prohibition of face coverings by all law enforcement. And so, like I just said, there are bills that are still being developed and still going to be drafted in relation to this. And so I will come back and update the board.
Could you just explain to me a little bit more about the fourth bullet, prohibition of state contracts with those who participate in deportations?
Yeah,
I
so
can't come
the,
up with
the
it.
theory behind that bill is that essentially they don't want Oregon state dollars flowing to companies or entities that are involved in deportation.
They're benefiting from it.
Okay, okay,
Like a Velo Airlines was an example of.
okay, thank you. Got
Exactly.
it. Okay.
Can I ask a question about the last one?
Yes.
Prohibition of face coverings by all law enforcement. I'm hoping that there will be an exemption for those law enforcement personnel who may be going through any sort of autoimmune or any other health situation where they need to wear one of those medical grade masks for their own personal protection versus, visibility protection, like the bank robber kind of masks, as for lack of a better term, or something like that. That
I don't really understand the purpose of that one from the perspective of what the state can control. Like the state could pass that, but that's not going to apply to federal law enforcement, right?
So from my understanding right now, there's a pending case, and I can't remember which state it's in which there's a challenge to another state that has passed that law. And so the theory would be to see if you could pass it and then see if it would hold constitutional muster.
Okay, fair enough.
I appreciated your mentioning that such bills would come to light tomorrow, and I think we need to wait and see. I will voice as one of five that I am trying to make sure I'm mindful of what would have implications for our county law enforcement and what ones would just, quote unquote, just apply to the state. So that would help me.
We'll definitely consult locally before coming back to the board.
Yeah, I commit on that, and I hear it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more as this develops. This to me feels like some of the federal executive orders that we're getting that everybody didn't like and protested, and now the state is taking the same avenue of enforcement with threats, and that doesn't feel very good to me. So I'll wait and see where this goes.
Sounds good, Commissioner.
Commissioner Fye, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I was smiling at Commissioner Willie's comment. I wouldn't, this isn't apple to apple comparison. I think the issue of immigration has been deadly, as we've seen as recent as last week. But I'm interested in these packages and see how. I definitely agree with the chair and Commissioner Willie that I would like to learn more about the local impacts, but these, to me, from a value perspective, seem very appealing, and I really think that it will address a lot of anxieties and trepidations that exist for our community members, especially those that are targeted by immigration enforcement activities. I want to, as a one of five, I want you to extend my gratitude to the legislators that are bringing these hard bills forward and taking the political risk and having those uncomfortable conversations and making sure that you know bring everybody together, cultivating those relationships while also having these courageous conversations. So please extend my gratitude and my support to see something happen at the state level in terms of any of these bills listed, and the more to come forward. There are really some exciting policies on the horizon as it relates to immigration in Oregon. So we really have good. It's a good time. It's hard time to be here at this moment, but also it's really good to have people who share the same values with you, as limited as they are. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Value or the people?
Excuse me.
I was trying to understand the message in your last line
Mhm.
on as little as they are you talking about the values being little or the people who share your values as being little in scope?
Oh, I think we would have to refer to the video. I'm not sure where it was.
Okay, no problem.
I have a conflict, Commissioner, so I'm going to excuse myself, but Aaron will take it from here.
We've run out of time. And I don't know what happened to this owl. But as the 2026, as the 2026
We've
session,
covered a lot of.
yes,
territory, so-
there are fewer questions that the owl will allow at this time. But if you have further questions about the 2026 session as it starts up next week, please, you know how to reach every one member of my team. Thank you for your time and attention and apologize to the next presenters.
Thank you for your work.
Yes, take care. Okay, I will note that it is 2 minutes past 3 and we have a 15-minute break scheduled. So we'll reconvene at 3:17. Commissioner Fye off the Zoom.
Do you hear us, Commissioner Fye?
We can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, Chair Harrington. I thought we went on a break and I turned my camera off, but I am sitting here.
So it was proposed that we go through our next topic and then take a break.
Okay, sorry, misunderstood. Yeah, I'm here though. I'm here.
Okay,
Turn
great.
my camera back on.
So it looks like we do have all of our speakers, so we'll pick back up with topic number 3 right now, Washington County General Revenue Options Project and Resilient Transportation Funding Option Project Update. Welcome, team.
Hello, thank you for having us. Ann Ober, I'm one of the assistant county administrators working on this project. And we're just going to go down the line first today for introductions.
Jordan Henderson, partner, Marine and Company.
Tanya Moffett, partner with Marine and Company.
Stephen Roberts, many microphones, Director of Land Use and Transportation.
So try the partner of Marina. Not the word.
We have a number of slides. We have about 90 minutes worth of content here today. Most of it is discussion with you all around where you want to go for the short-term solutions that we're proposing. And I just every time want to call out a thank you to the team that's been making this all happen. Some of you know that one of our partners has been out on jury duty, which has been excellent, but FISA has really stepped up. Same with Jessica, who's not at the table right now. So I just wanted to thank them since they're not here representing today.
Well,
With that,
thank you, FISA, for doing your civic duty.
oh no, Brenda's doing her civic
Thank
duty.
you, Brenda,
Yeah.
for doing your civic.
But thank you, FISA.
For doing her civic duty and covering for
Yes.
absolutely.
FISA, yes.
Okay, and with that, I'm gonna actually turn it over to Marina.
Perfect. So we're back with, we're working on the revenue options project. So again, just a reminder, we're looking for a way to improve the resiliency of the county's general fund. And we are also looking at a resiliency for the transportation funding options, which will take some of that stress off of the general fund. Oops. And you've seen this work plan. We're working our way down the list. We're getting closer to the bottom, and we are currently at phase, we're calling it 5A. So we're here for board direction on the short-term options. So we've compiled a refined list and came back with some of the answers from the December work session. So phase 4 is working on the implementation viability analysis. And so we've been working our way through, and we are currently on the development and refining the strategy of the recommendations. And today we're focusing on the short term, and then we're going to bring back in the spring more refined options for the medium and the long term. So
that is where we are right now. We have went through and based off of our work session in December, we have came back and to help narrow some of these revenue options and specifically focused on answering some of these specific questions that we have listed here on those short-term options so that we can request some feedback from you today. Again, this is a reminder of what we have done so far. And up in the right-hand corner is our green options. And then we've got some yellow options, orange options, and then some red options, although it doesn't quite, we kind of pulled off the red options. So now it's gray on the screen. Again, we're focusing on the short-term options here today. And as always, this is really research, and some of these things might change as we get further legal analysis or we find out different things or maybe legislative changes like we just heard from the presenters before us. Things might change as we go. So we're just putting out the cautionary tale that, you know, subject to change on some of this information. So some of the specific questions that we're here to follow up on are new franchise fees, utility license fees a viable option for the county? And after legal review, we have determined that counties do not currently have the authority without some state statutory changes. We also looked into what options there are for assessment and taxation to be able to recover some of those costs. And what we found is after legal review that counties do not currently have the authority to implement a general assessment and taxation fee program, but there are some potential options for related to the administration for specific programs around urban renewal areas. So one answer not so good, the other one possibility. And then what revenue options are available related to enterprise funds. And so currently in statute, there are some potential for specific authorization of fees or additional payments to be negotiated on enterprise zones. As we heard from the speakers before us, there is some proposed legislative changes that could potentially affect enterprise zones, you know, in the future. So now I'm going to pass it off to Jordan.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So as Tanya mentioned, we're here to talk about the short-term funding strategy recommendations. And before we get there, this slide will look familiar to you. Basically, as we're moving from sort of a technical desktop exercise designed to narrow options and then bring those into a strategy, we're proposing or recommending what options to pursue moving forward. There are a whole host of other considerations that go along with deciding what options to actually move forward and pursue implementation. Those are political considerations, financial or service considerations, as well as some of the more detailed, considerations around what it takes to implement. So just something to be aware of as we continue to bring strategy recommendations to you. In terms of our short-term funding options, if you look at the results of the implementation viability analysis and you begin to filter that list based on what we believe to be the options that are viable or implementable in the short term, you narrow the list to a relatively short number. And we've categorized that to a couple of different areas and then depicted it according to what we believe the estimated revenue potential to be. And identified one that we believe is an immediate opportunity, and that's increasing vehicle registration fees. We'll have more specific information in a couple slides. That's one of the more concrete or one of the more certain options that we believe could be implemented short term. In terms of the other short-term opportunities that provide potentially some level of revenue potential in the medium category, it's looking at ensuring you're recovering costs appropriately for fees and permits and license fees. And then there's a whole host of other short-term options that may be implementable in the short term, but based on our research tell us implementation or revenue potential is likely to be fairly low. And so as we look at proposing a strategy, The teams are recommending sort of a two-prong approach, and that's focusing on the one immediate opportunity, which is an increase to the county's vehicle registration fee, which again is the one revenue option identified through our analysis as a short-term, higher impact funding option with a higher level of certainty around revenue potential. And then number two, focusing on evaluating cost recovery and looking primarily at fees or permits and license fees to ensure that you're recovering costs where appropriate. I'll pass it to Stephen.
Okay. Great. So yeah, I want to just talk a little bit about the potential for the increase in the vehicle registration fee. So your board adopted the vehicle registration fee in 2016. It took effect beginning January 2018, I believe, going back in time here. At the time the vehicle registration fee was adopted at the county, the maximum amount the county could have charged was $43, which is pegged at the state vehicle registration fee rate at that time. So in general, the state rules continue to say you can charge up to the state registration fee amount for a local county registration fee. So currently the state fee that we could benchmark to is about $63 per year for a passenger vehicle. And I know we had a question that came up last week about whether we could adopt a tiered system similar to the state based on vehicle mileage. And we're not allowed to do that. So at this point, 63 would be the maximum amount that we could adopt our local revenue or our local fee at. And so what we did for just ease of calculation and assumptions here in the slide, and there's a more detailed table in your briefing memo that's in the agenda packet. But if we were to double the fee from its current $30 per year to $60 per year, that would essentially double the revenues we anticipate. So currently raising about $10.3 million for the county share, about 6.9 goes out to cities, and then that 6.9 million is split up based on the city's relative populations between the cities. And so by doubling the fee to 60, it generates another additional $10.3 million for a total of about 20.6, almost $20.7 million. And again, these are estimates, and over time we'll see how they trend, but they have remained at least steady over the last few years, not decreasing. So that's been good.
A small factoid
Of course.
to what you described for the adoption and then the effective date from that 2016 adoption. So in 2018, the board, I believe, saw an uptick of constituent comments. And then when three of us started on the board in 2019, given that some folks, you've got 2-year registration periods. So when folks, even though it was effective as of 2019, their vehicle registration fees didn't come up until 2019. So we had some feedback about it because people weren't tracking, in their budgets and so forth. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought that forward.
Is the city allocation like where is the authority? Is that a
Mm-hmm.
Is it a requirement? Is it in state statute? Is it in what the commission passed at the time? And I ask because I'm getting some feedback that some city leaders don't support our discussion around this. I'm wondering if maybe a solution there might be to, if they're not interested in increasing it to support the cities, then maybe we change that. But what would be required there?
Yeah, the statute requires that 40% of the
statute?
revenues, yes, be shared with cities within the
So that's not easy to change.
correct.
I'm just always looking for solutions when people are presenting problems.
And done on a per population basis.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's prescriptive.
Right. And in the agenda packet, there is the table that kind of gives the breakdowns per city jurisdictions. So that you get a sense of existing revenues generated and then potential revenues by doubling.
So you'll be asking us for feedback when we get to slide 17 and 19.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So unless there are any other questions on the vehicle registration fee amount at this time, we can move on. Oh, I should speak to the timeline. Yeah. So given the board's sense of urgency that we felt at the last board work session, we've developed a timeline that feels fairly aggressive, but we think is reasonable to move forward. So it entails potentially receiving direction from your board at today's work session, whether you want to proceed with this down this path or not. Assuming the answer to that is yes, we would initiate outreach with chambers of commerce, the Washington County Coordinating Committee, Westside Economic Alliance, city councils, and others who would want us to come and speak to them about it and explain sort of the rationale behind this. And I want to say I've really glossed over all of that today because you all are deeply ingrained in the why we're here, but we'll be happy to share that backstory with folks. And then we would envision coming back to you in late April with a work session seeking formal direction to file an ordinance to proceed with the registration fee increase, a first reading in May, and then a second reading and public hearing held in early June. And assuming that adoption timeline, given what we know about ODOT's recommended time in order to allow them to actually implement this fee increases in their system, they need a minimum 6 months is what they've advised us. So we have at least the potential for the rate increase to take effect as early as January of 2027. There's a possibility it could take effect a little bit later, but that's a kind of reasonable
That's what your
estimation. Correct.
We're going to hold questions until slide 17.
Great. All right, we can move on. I think this is Ann.
So part of why we wanted to talk about the fees is that right now several of our departments are doing full cost recovery. So I just want to point out groups like Stephen Roberts and others are actually looking for full cost recovery within the department. And there are places where you may not actually want full cost recovery for a service that we're providing. And there's probably several of them. So in places like human services or in the criminal justice system, there are times when your intention is not actually to receive full cost or remuneration for the services we're providing. So our recommendation, if you're interested in this, would be that we sit down and we come up with a policy that would clearly articulate when and how full cost recovery would be considered. And then we would run our fees through that system in order to determine which one should be increased. But we wanted to make sure that the values and the goals of this board were considered before we made any proposals about places where full cost recovery should be considered. Okay.
Okay, now we're on that important requested feedback. So as you can see from the first one, this is a good time for you to raise any questions on the county's vehicle registration fee proposal and to also ask or answer the question, do you support moving forward with it and its associated proposed timeline for adoption and implementation? So board members, let's start there.
So I got a couple.
Go for it.
On slide 9, you say the phase 4 implementation viability analysis, the last dot is provide for specific authorization fees or additional payments negotiated with EZ sponsors. So that's kind of a rehash of what we just talked about. So that's just there just for, because we are talking about it, but there's nothing necessarily here we're going to be doing. That's correct to the other group. Okay. So then when we go down to slide 14, I had asked previously, what would it look like if we, instead of doing a $30 fee, we did, I don't know, I'm spitballing, $20 fee and $10 for electric vehicles. Now, what the conversation was, and this is a week or two ago, I think. Conversation was we didn't know if we could legislatively do that, or if we could piggyback on what the state transportation bill isn't on the referral side of things. That one's still in play. Could we tag along on that one? Because again, like Jason said, I've had conversations with a few mayors. They're not real excited about this, even though they get money. They just think maybe this is not a good time to have this conversation with our voting public, even though they don't vote on it. We vote on it. We could get some pushback. So, um, what if we looked at that? I mean, we don't even know how many electric cars are on the road, do we? Right.
We don't, but at this time, statutorily, we really are limited to the $63 is the maximum that we could impose. We can't go higher based on classifications like electric or higher fuel.
I wasn't suggesting higher. I was saying instead of 30, we do 20 and 10.
Right. Yeah, it's the combination portion, the 20 and 10. We'd have to just go 20 across the board or 30 across the board or 25 across the board. It just needs to be a consistent fee regardless of vehicle type or efficiency.
So how the state?
The state can do what they want. They didn't include in the statute, they didn't build in the flexibility for local jurisdictions to adopt that same.
You gave us one option.
Right. We have the one option, flat rate per vehicle type. Yeah.
All right. That's all good.
Yep. That's a great question. Thank you.
Stephen, this was, I'm trying to remember now when that went in place or when it was discussed and enacted in 2016. Was it voted on?
No.
It was not.
Vehicle registration? Yeah, it was voted on.
Wait,
That's what
they went in 2014 because I was up for reelection and
Yeah.
the board put no effort behind community engagement on it from my experience, because I remember staff, Dave Shamp and could have been Stephen,
Yep.
way back then, showing up at CPO meetings with the objective information. That ballot measure failed, and the board came back in 2016 and made the move legislatively nonetheless, because perhaps like us, they found themselves in a situation where doing nothing was not an option. So that's where we are today.
Thank you. I appreciate the history on that a little bit. I certainly lived here and experienced it, but I couldn't recall it exactly. I knew there was a vote at some point, but it's just a consideration point for me. You know, if it's already been authorized by voters, that's one thing. I see the need to do this. I'll state that. I see the need to make a change, and we don't have a lot of other options. At the same time, we have community leaders and others that we need to bring along in this process. And it is, this is an example of a thing where by the time we're starting to talk about it being a real possibility, like the community perception and even other community leaders' perception is that we didn't include them in the discussion. And that's always a kind of a tricky thing to balance, but I do think we really need to engage and I appreciate the proposed engagement timeline on slide 14. But I really do think we need to bring partners along with us. If I learned anything in my first year on the commission, that was one thing I learned, was just about the need to do robust both outreach and engagement. So
I think, tagging along that with that, Jason, I think that's going to be the mantra for just about everything we do in the next couple of years. It's going to be very important.
Agree.
That we communicate to the general public the difficulties and what we are proposing to do. Otherwise, it's going to be a hard slog and not going to be pretty. So I would agree.
I would just say on the same slide 14, you have the different groups, but it doesn't imply public communication. And I think we just need to include that in that list of people we are communicating to our groups. It's also the general public.
I also just want to take a moment to call out an opportunity. So when we were working on the levies, we had board representation on an internal committee where we talked about that engagement. I believe we had 2 commissioners who would serve in that capacity to help us as we were determining those next steps. I think it might be really helpful here if you decide to proceed for the board to designate 2 individuals who would participate in those discussions.
So let's hold that for a moment. Commissioner Trees, Spy, and myself have not weighed in yet. I'm happy to dive in if you want.
Go ahead. I'm still formulating.
Yep. So let me tell you why I'm excited to support this proposal to engage with our fellow local government partners and our community in a potential proposal to increase the fee. First off, from my view, taking no action is not an option. We have to solve the problem or the challenge of not having a sustainable funding scenario for the county. We well know what actions we've had to take over the 5 past years, and we have efforts in place to continue communicating with everyone of what the challenges are, what possibilities are. Secondly, since in my 1 of 5 opinion, no action is not an option, I look at it from the standpoint of total cost of ownership. I'm somewhat personally dismayed at seeing a knee-jerk reaction to any fee increase. What are we talking about? We're talking about vehicles. And so I understand from the information that we could raise it $63 per year for $126 total for the 2-year registration. So I did some research and I went out on the trusty old internet looking for what seemed to be credible averages for what it costs for car insurance alone. So sunk cost, you bought a car somehow, or you were given a car. You got to have insurance and you got to maintain the car once a year. I went with the simplest scenario. 1 by 1, car insurance. You can have, there's average full insurance and there's average minimum coverage. So I choose to use both the minimum for the minimum car insurance and package, and then the maximum, it's $800 per year or $1,500 year. Your mileage will vary based upon your state and your personal circumstances, so that's why I did the lowest. Car maintenance, I'm doing the lowest. Didn't include tires, filters, all that stuff. I only went for 1 oil change a year. Now, for those of you who are driving more than 3 or 5 miles, 3 or 5,000 miles a year, Practical Matters suggests that you go for 2 a year. I'm going once again with the lowest. The average cost of the standard oil, not synthetic, which is more expensive, is $35 average to $75 average. So I did the 2-year costs of both of those, and guess what? A $63 increase over 2 years is a 3.6% increase. 3.6% increase. For the maximum average of those minimums, a $63 increase is a 1.9% increase. Okay, folks, with the kind of dollars we're talking about, maybe you shouldn't go to Starbucks as many times during the course of the year, or get those weird bubbly drinks, or other income, or drive your car less. But the bottom line is, in order, as 1 of 5, I am I'm sensitive to the cost of living, but if you're going to drive a car, you have to accept that there are costs involved with that. So that's why for the first key bullet here on your questions, I do support moving forward with a potential increase with the engagement plan that you've talked about, um, and including the timeline. So sorry if I was long-winded explaining what my thought process is, but there you have it. So my mind's still open. Commissioner Fye and Commissioner Treese.
I can go next if that's okay, Commissioner Fye. I don't, I drive an electric car. Haven't had an oil change for a while. So I'm just kind of thinking about that. I will be supporting this. I have some cautions that I just want to raise. I think that in this environment, we've been getting a lot of signals about transportation costs through the transportation funding, and I think that our public's awareness of those costs is probably higher than it normally is. And I think we just have to take that into consideration as we move forward with our communication. That that was part of the complaint that we heard about the transportation package. So I'll put that out there. I'm also, I'm concerned about affordability. I look at this increase in the work that we're trying to do here, and I offset it against other potential increases that we might look at as well. And at this point, I think this is the best option we have, and to keep us inching forward in recovery in relationship to a balanced budget. So I'm as I've said before, when it comes to looking at things like additional taxes, I'm going to be weighing that against how do we grow our economy. So that's what I'm looking at here. I think we need to do this in the interim, but we also need to consider how we are growing our economy at the same time.
Commissioner Fye.
Thank you, Chair. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. I really appreciated the remarks Commissioner Snyder made. I share those concerns and some of the suggestions that he was making in his statements. I am one of the things that I really, well, let me pause and say, Commissioner Jerry Willie and I did my briefing with the staff, and it was a deep dive. I learned a lot, and even went on a tour to do 8th grade algebra with Commissioner Willie to put us through that. So that was really fun, and dissected these numbers left and right. And it was really helpful having a CPA in that discussion to sort of really look at the numbers. I think I agree with Commissioner Snyder around understanding the need that is sort of making us have this conversation. The county needs a financial, we need to identify some more revenues. That is a complete full board agreement. The other reality is the community is also struggling financially. While the county is struggling financially, the other coin of that is also struggling. So I don't think for me it's the right time to have a proposal out to the community so soon, especially when the state transportation conversation haven't been settled. And then the other thing, I don't know, Commissioner Willie, if you were going to bring this up, but I think we need an agreement of this revenue, if because we're on a majority board here. So if the four of you do decide to move forward with this, I think we need to have a conversation about where is this money going to go towards? Is it just for transportation, so that we're clear with our community members that this extra 5 million, it's going to really go to transportation, and we're going to augment some of the cuts that MSTIP has had over the years. So that is one thing that we all need to have a conversation about, so that this isn't just is going to general revenue and is going to augment all the cuts that the county is facing. We have to be clear about that. So I don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater because there's been a lot of good conversation. My briefing 101 was really great. I learned a lot, and we had really not only robust but courageous conversation about what this actually means to people who are facing financial difficulties in our community. So I say that to say, what else can we do? Can we move forward what Commissioner Snyder was recommending around bringing people along, cultivating more relationship, creating space for more conversation with our city partners, and bring everybody on board, while also not moving forward an actual fee increase to the community and causing anxieties and to trying to figure out. I hear you, Chair Harrington. It's a small amount, but a lot of people that a small amount matters. And I guarantee you, not everyone is spending Starbucks to augment, and so people are making some of those difficulties, is what I'm trying to say, to forego Starbucks and coffees so that they could actually pay their water bills on time, or gas or electricity, or even help out with family members to make their rent on time. So I hear those in the community, and I feel very uncomfortable to say yes. But at the same time, I do want to recognize the resources and the amount of brain capacity that went into to get us to this conversation. So I toss that to say, what is a win-win path to move forward this discussion in terms of what Commissioner Snyder was recommending, while also pausing the fee registration. But if you need a definitive answer, for me, is I do not support vehicle fee registrations right now.
So the question is, do you support moving forward with the timeline for consideration?
Which includes
forward?
engagement.
Yes, it isn't asking you for a final decision today.
Moving forward, the proposed increase, I think that's where I feel a bit of a conversation, or some pause here for me. The language here that's posed is moving forward. So I'm interested in moving the conversation forward, but not a proposed fee increase, if that makes sense. I'm just responding and reflecting what's in front of me. You all might have been interpreting differently, but does your board support moving forward with a proposed increase? For me, it's a no right there.
Okay. Okay, we understand your mind is closed. Oh, no.
What would, Commissioner Fye, what would you be proposing the discussion be about if it's not about a proposed fee increase?
I would say to keep the dialogue moving for staff, you all and the consultants, you all can figure out the semantics here, but something that doesn't say we are moving forward with an increase, but we're moving forward with the intention to bring people along to figure out where everyone is, because things, the economy might turn around in the next 6 months, and it might be a different conversation. But right now, proposed increase to the county's vehicle registration, that seems like we are moving forward with the intention to increase the fee, rather than to further, from what I understood from your remarks about creating space for more dialogue and bringing people along. That's not what I'm reading here.
I think the opportunity a little bit in the language, and I appreciate Commissioner Fye's point, is that the dialogue that we do need to have is that we see this as a potential solution. We want to have a dialogue about that, which is different than what's on the screen, which is saying, we're moving forward to the fee increase. Let's talk about it. Those are similar, but they're not the same conversation.
Correct. So inserting the word potential increase. instead of proposed.
Correct.
Okay, we've got to move on here, folks. This is just the first question of 3. Commissioner Willie, you indicated to me you had something else?
I don't go through the intricacies of vehicle expenses like you do. I took $30 and divided by 20,000 miles, and it's 0.0015 cents per mile is what we're increasing. There.
Well,
Mine's not as in.
to put it in a consumer's perspective, everybody has to figure out what their average mileage is per year. So you could look that up on the internet, but if you take 10,000 miles per year just as a base average and your teeny weeny number, that would come to what, a $10 a year increase? I don't know.
Well,
I don't do math in my
a $30 increase, no matter how you calculate it. But
Right.
if you only drove 10,000 miles, it'd be 0.003.
Okay,
Cents per mile.
Yep.
times 10,000 miles
Yep.
would be
10,000 miles would be
would
30
be-
bucks.
$30.
$30.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Do we want to, it sounds like we have 4 commissioners who want to move forward through this process. I'm just going to do it now versus in next steps. With regard to the staff request for 2 board liaisons, for those folks who I think you need to be in support of the process to be one of those liaisons, frankly. So of the 4 of us who still have an open mind on this, I myself don't have a need for doing more work, but if I appreciate staff's opinion of they haven't shared it of who they think would be of use to them. And I know you're all busy with lots of things, so do you have any thoughts, staff? I'm more than happy to put Ann and Stephen Roberts on point or on.
I'll answer it.
Oh,
Then
thank
neither
you.
one of them.
Oh,
That's so I think this is an opportunity for commissioners who may have interest in this and interest in how we craft what a community engagement process looks like and giving your feedback on that and then bringing that back to the full board because that's one of the important points on a board subcommittee is you are not making the decision. You are simply being a liaison and bringing that back to the board.
My hands up.
Yeah, community engagement is much more in Pam's bailiwick than mine.
I can be another. I did just volunteer for another similar ask with Clean Water Services earlier today. So if you feel strongly about it, Commissioner Willie, I think that'd be fine too. But if you would prefer me, I can make it work.
public consent.
Or the
That I was assigned to another task. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about that. I can go either way on this basis. Both of us have plenty of committee assignments. I don't care. You want to flip a coin after we're done? Sure.
I think you should just take me and forget these guys.
Careful what you ask.
I know.
Okay, so.
So can I ask clarification?
Yeah, who?
Because I heard, okay, Pam and,
A coin
They're,
flip.
they're good.
And a coin flip.
okay,
Literally a coin flip.
okay.
Oh,
You can-
Nobody has coins in.
So just for members of the public who may be watching this, staff will create a charter so that it's very clear what the scope of the subcommittee is and bring that back as a in leadership update to get the thumbs up from the board.
I'll just do it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's Pam and Jason.
And under next steps, we'll speak to that in a moment. Question number 2, of the other short-term opportunities, are there any revenue options that your board does not wish to consider as part of the short-term funding strategy? And this particularly goes towards slides 12 and 13. I'm just going to kick off the discussion if that's okay with you all. So in the low list, Um, if I'm correct, we don't, for the first item, we don't have any let me just tell you any infrastructure for that. Garbage hauler franchise fee, we do have infrastructure there. Um, parking fees, we don't have infrastructure there except for the event center and landfill franchise fees. There's only one landfill, active landfill here, and I know that. EMS franchise fee, well, I don't know. Aren't we already charging a franchise?
We are, and we already, I mean, the vendor's already having trouble making a
Yeah,
system
so
work.
for me,
More fees.
Just pile on.
fee, we don't have one now, and fines and penalties, this goes to, well, we're already pushing really hard on permit fees and so forth. So it's a possibility. So what I was trying to get at is, as one of five expressing my opinion, I really only see garbage hauler franchise fees and landfill franchise fees as viable to even pursue. But my thought here isn't my measure, unlike what you say on slide 15, isn't with the highest potential revenue potential, but rather just assistance for cost recovery. So I don't categorize it as highest potential, but you're also hearing from me is I'm not interested in creating just a blanket brand new across the board. So garbage hauler franchise fee, I mean, already there's so much negativity when Metro does their cost recovery stuff. And landfill franchise fee, well, the thing there is trying to make sure that we don't create barriers such that people will litter, which we already know some people do anyway. So from my standpoint, yeah, if you want to spend more time on the low list, but which the advantage of doing that says to our community, we've looked under every rock. So from that standpoint, I'm supportive of your looking into it, but I don't see a lot of payback.
Is the staff recommendation, I want to clarify what the chair just said. Is the staff recommendation that we pursue some of those or no? Okay.
Their question is that your board does not wish to consider. So I'm saying I just don't see the payback on the low list.
Low
So,
value, high work.
Should we be looking at that scatter chart? Is that where really?
So these were all.
This really,
This is
the
it.
list.
Okay.
Here's
So I don't, and when you look at the medium level, I don't know, we're already getting pushback on some of these things, but I don't know what fees for specific services might be.
But that's where they spoke about in the strategy, coming up with a policy and analysis to identify which departments might consider further cost recovery.
That's using slide 15's
Yeah.
approach, right?
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
So the other thing, I just want to go back on the low. Well, I 100% agree with the chair on the fact that we don't have any infrastructure for a business license fee. We don't have that. But what we did experience during COVID was the fact that we don't have any tracking system for our businesses in unincorporated Washington County. And I don't want to lose track of that as an opportunity to have a better tracking system when we need it, as well as potential fee. I just put that out there.
Well, I think just to tag along with that, I don't want to convolute the scenario, and I've said this before, by proposing or suggesting a bunch of taxes. So we've got one vehicle registration fee. I think that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The business license fee, It's almost, I want to take that, and put this over here of developing the future economic development department. And we use those fees specifically for that. So I don't want that to be included as a revenue source, but in actuality, it will help us to develop another department of economic development, which I think we desperately need right now. So anyway, that's kind of for future. So I'd like to park that fee, but all the rest of them, I'm in agreement with you. When we talk about a landfill fee, then we're talking about increasing our garbage haulers fees because that's just going to be passed through. So yeah, I would agree. I'm good with just vehicle registration fees.
So just, this is not the first time that business license fees has been brought up by the board. So I just want, just spirit of transparency, the staff have not done any due diligence. We do not currently have a system or process to collect, like, so I appreciate Commissioner Willie, you saying that's on the parking lot, that's over here for future discussion. But staff have not scoped that at all. So just full transparency.
I was just pointing
Or
out that it had, like you were saying, multiple opportunities there.
The staff recommendation is also to take the things in the medium and put them through the slide 15 process.
Correct. And that's the third question. So if we're
Oh,
ready to get
got
to
it.
the third
Okay,
question.
sorry.
No, that's great.
So I sort of jumped the gun. I said,
I'm supportive of that.
Okay.
don't do the low. So, yeah.
So,
Yep.
okay, so that gets us to the last question, which is, do you support the analysis that we talked about looking for cost recovery in places?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to respond to Tanya that in this information that's provided, and I don't even know, to me, it's page 34, but they're not numbered, is a part of the strong candidates, the weak candidates, and all that stuff. They do talk about business license fees potentially at $100, raising 500,000. So that, to me, that's a good start. And from that, we go forward.
What I'm responding to is some members of your board has asked for that as like a business license program and what that program would cover, how that fits into ECDEV. So the full scope of that, absolutely. There was the initial kind of point, but the full scope has not been worked on.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. Again, that's why I was saying I'd like to not lose sight of that, put it in the parking lot, and we'll come back.
It's documented and put on a futures list. Should there be a board opportunity for either this current board or a future board to decide it wants to invest time and resources to go into it.
Any other feedback on the fees analysis that we proposed?
No.
Nope.
Seeing none, next steps.
So based on this, what I've heard is a couple of things. One is that we need to work on a charter and get that back before this board quickly. So we will work on that for our partnership around and collaboration. The actual outreach is going to be housed in LUT with support from the CAO's office, just so that everybody's clear about roles and responsibilities. And then if you all give us the go ahead, that there's actually the feedback from the community that they're willing to go through this with you, then we would work with you to bring something back in May, June.
Well, it needs to be
Amended.
yes.
Okay. And then we'll be back this spring to talk to you about the long term.
It's a deal.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Any chance that you can make those wording improvements on slide 17 and 19 in this current presentation?
Yes.
At your board's direction, we will make those in discussion. We'll make those word changes and then republish.
Yep.
I want to thank Commissioner Willie too for pushing us to move faster on this. I appreciate your urgency. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, that's it for this topic. 15-minute break now. Okay, so we'll reconvene at 4:10. Welcome back, everyone, from our break between work session topics. Everybody's back. And we have board and leadership communication and formal agenda discussion. Why don't we start first with checking in on today's formal agenda? We have 6 consent items, one set of appointments for the Public Health Advisory Board, the Black History Month proclamation with 3 wonderful employees speaking to that, 2 different public hearings, 1 action, and that's it. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? No? Okay, that was easy.
My hands up, Chair Harrington.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I've had a request to see our board to have a sort of a discussion or to entertain the idea. I know we've committed last time to put the CPO agenda item on the consent and delay it to today, which I really am grateful for. But I think people are wanting to speak to this topic, and since we have a public hearing topics, to move it under the public hearing.
So board, if I understand it, Commissioner Fye is asking us to revisit our decision of last time we had this topic at the board meeting and what our next steps would be. I believe, Board Clerk, could you speak to how many people we have already signed up for public communication?
Yes, right now, Madam Chair, we have 5 people signed up at the beginning, 3 at the end of the meeting, 2 for the public hearing on Metzger, and we have not received any communication from members of the public on the CPO.
I would prefer we continue with the action. We actually voted on what our plan was.
Right, we did.
I'd prefer we stick with what we voted on.
I do as well. Any other?
I'm good.
We did vote on that previously.
Yep. So that request fails. Okay. So we've taken care of today's agenda, formal agenda that is. So why don't, for the sake of time, why don't we take leadership communication first? And Mr. Shanley, would you like to start?
I'll kick it off. Good afternoon, CWS Board of Directors. Wanted to mention regarding state of our partnership. I can say it's my roundup, but a reminder that Joe Gall will be speaking at the City of Durham Council tonight for a state of the partnership presentation. He will also be giving a presentation at the City of Tigard Tuesday next week. And I believe Director Snyder will be attending. So thanks.
So will I.
Oh, great. Awesome. Beaverton and the special districts meeting. This Thursday, I'll gather with special district colleagues in the city of Beaverton. There's great connection, a good opportunity to continue to build and strengthen those relationships and understand some of the challenges unique to special districts and areas of collaboration. Just point out it's been a busy week. I've seen a lot of numbers. We're crunching budget time. So this Friday is the deadline for our operating budgets for all the programs and departments to get those budgets captured. So it's been good to kind of be in at the very early stages. Hopefully it'll be smoother, going on and less of a project. And we're also finishing up mid-year reviews. So some years back, we went to having not just an annual performance review, but a mid-year and annual review. So that's been a really important time to make sure staff are getting the input and the support that they need. That type of check-in.
Mid-year reviews of the budget or their performance?
2 separate, of their performance appraisals for staff.
Thank you.
Yep. I am going to be away next week on vacation. Elizabeth Edwards will be attending meetings in my at the county in my place. And so please reach out to Elizabeth or Ann if there's anything. I will be checking email and somewhat available.
That means you won't be at the all-day
I will
work
not
session?
be there.
Okay.
I had hoped when we had talked, Chair, to be there virtually. That might not work out so well.
It's vacation, role model going on vacation.
We've been through 2 practice runs. I feel like it's going to be a really good meeting. And then we did move the rate study piece out until a work session in the following week. So I'm really looking forward to that important topic. Glad to be there in person for that part. That's it from me.
So you'll be remote for that. I will be here the 10th. Do I have that date right? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, Washington County leadership.
So let's first start talking about weather. So let's take a dive through a few different areas of the weather that we're experiencing. First, air quality. As a reminder, Washington County has an air quality ordinance, which is Ordinance 807, adopted in 2015. As part of this ordinance, public health staff monitor levels of air pollution and weather conditions between November 1st to March 1st. During this time, staff may issue a red day alert that applies to anyone who lives in unincorporated Washington County. A red day alert means the air quality is unhealthy and that no fireplace or wood stove use is allowed unless it is a household sole source use of heat. Staff also, during this time, issue voluntary no burn bans when air pollution levels become unhealthy for sensitive groups. On these days, we ask that people voluntarily refrain from burning unless they absolutely need to for heat. Yesterday, January 26th, and today are voluntary no burn days due to the higher levels of air pollution lingering within our area. The cities of Hillsborough and Cornelius have adopted similar ordinances, so this notification system applies to those residents as well. As subject matter experts, Washington County public staff communicate these advisories and alerts with partners at the City of Cornelius and Hillsborough, county leadership, communication to the public via our webpage, social media, and are also alerting your board and members of the public who may tune in to this meeting. Regarding severe weather shelter activation, although other parts of the country are experiencing worse weather than we are, we did go through a cold snap over the last few days with temperatures dropping to 19 degrees in Hillsborough Sunday night. This prompted our Housing Services Department to activate severe weather beds over the weekend. As your board is aware, these beds supplement the Washington County Emergency Shelter Program, which currently offers 440 beds to meet the variety of household needs, including family, children, veterans, youth, and medically fragile individuals. 153 individuals took the opportunity to come out of the cold during this activation. I also just want to let your board know during your board roundtables, we have had a fiscal focus. I was going to blend focus and forecast together because I'm going to talk about the forecast. Within the forecast, we focus on the general fund. And I want to just highlight the chart that depicted the AV growth, which we have typically about 4.25 over the last 10 years. As your board knows, with Intel rolling on to the tax rolls as well as the data centers, we have a much higher AV growth. That AV growth not only has been experienced within the county's general fund, but experienced across taxing districts within Washington County. Other taxing districts within Washington County's budget includes WCCLS, it includes the Public Safety Levy and ESPD. Staff will be updating your board and making sure that information is public as we work through the budget process. So, heads up, because I wanted to connect a couple of those dots. This week, tomorrow morning, I will be traveling to Arizona for the Arizona City County Manager Association as my role of ICMA past president. During this time, I will be serving on a panel relative to ethics in local government during the times of crisis. Just as a reminder, Washington County does not pay for these costs. These costs are paid for by ICMA or myself. During this time, I will follow up with who is acting because that just escaped my mind. So I'll send that to you in email. But we do have someone who's acting, and no, it's not you, Commissioner Willie, but thank you for offering. And that concludes my update.
Hi, Alex.
Chair, Commissioners, just one substantive legal update today. We had a pretty big development with the Oregon Tort Claims Act last week. The OTCA, which is ORS 30.265, provides that every public body and its officers, employees, and agents acting within the course and scope of their employment or duties are immune from liability for any claim of injury or death for any person covered by workers' compensation law. So what this means is that if somebody has a workers' compensation claim, they cannot also bring a claim against a public body for negligent or other tortious conduct. Last week, as I pull my notes back up, the Oregon Supreme Court in Mary Crandall versus State of Oregon ruled that workers' compensation immunity in the OTCA violated the remedy clause, Article 1, Section 10 of the Oregon Constitution, and was therefore unconstitutional. The OTCA itself and its damage caps and other immunities are still valid, and the ruling only applies to third-party claims against a public entity. It does not invalidate Oregon's workers' compensation statutes limiting an employee to workers' compensation remedies against their own employer for compensable work-related injuries. So that's the upside to this. It means that a current Washington County employee who maintains a workers' compensation claim cannot bring a claim under the Oregon Tort Claims Act, but City of Hillsborough, City of Beaverton, another public employee who has a tort claim against the county can both maintain a workers' compensation claim and a tort claim at the same time. That's a pretty big departure from how the OTCA has operated in the past. We're currently in the process of assessing how that might affect the county based on the claims we're facing, and we anticipate coming back to your board with an update on that in a different form. That's all I have.
Okay. Whew. Complexity on top of complexity. Okay, board communication. Who would like to go first?
I can.
Great.
Let's see. Last Wednesday, I attended a City of Sherwood hosted meeting regarding a battery storage facility that's outside the City of Sherwood that they're having concerns and questions about. Thursday, I had my one-on-one with the county administrator. Friday, a bunch of things happened, including the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee meeting, which was the sort of re-kickoff of the every couple of year cycle with TriMet. I had to check in with the county auditor, and then I did attend the Acre. This is an informal social happy hour where there was no business conducted or discussed, but I did attend that happy hour social. And then yesterday had a briefing on transit content that I think we're all having, and one-on-one with Mr. Shanley. Today, the chair and I met with county council regarding our work on the rule of law actions that we're planning to take. More to come on as we work forward with that. And then Thursday of this week, I'm going to be speaking at the Spot Microtransit launch celebration in District 3. And then I'm going to be meeting with Tiger Mayor Hu over the weekend. That's what I got going on.
What is, I'm not, I don't know the Spot.
Oh, the Spot Microtransit. I think we had
It's an on-demand, essentially ride connection type of service.
It's a pilot.
Yeah,
okay.
one was just talked about in one geography in the LUT facts last Friday, and in a different district, and now this is the pilot in District 3.
Okay. It's an area that's got little to
Stephen,
no
do you want to come up
transit access.
and correct anything I got wrong, but just speak to what the true fact is versus my poor memory?
Yeah, you're very close, Chair. It is a pilot microtransit project. So basically it's an on-demand rideshare service using small vans, basically. So it's being funded through a discretionary grant from the State Transportation Improvement Fund through ODOT. And we're piloting this. It'll be the first one, certainly in our region. So we're excited to try it out. It's mostly District 1, but crosses into District 3. So it's kind of Southwest Beaverton and the River Terrace part of Tiger.
Okay. That's on my calendar. So, yeah, I'll be there just to hear you speak, Jason. I won't boo or anything, you know, keep it cordial. You almost said something.
How kind.
You did.
How kind. I think I'll go next.
Okay, thank you.
So last Thursday was at the Beaverton Chamber Annual Luncheon. Ended there. And then following that, I attended the RWAC meeting and we had a good discussion and shared feedback as a group on the regional garbage transfer system. I've been meeting with Rusty and others to kind of keep up to speed in terms of what our priorities are. And those priorities are system efficiency, maximizing recovery, affordability, quality of service, community well-being, good jobs, and multiple private sector participants. So we've been providing that information as we move forward. The Friday, I attended the RDPO meeting, and that's a little depressing. I have to tell you that, you know, with the federal funding going away and trying to figure out what services will be provided. Mark is doing a great job. He's basically managing himself out of a job and trying to do that as gracefully as possible. And
Mark who?
I would thank you, Verdict. Thank you good job.
Washington County person?
No, he is he's RDPO person. So he's the executive director there. But he's really doing a very good job of restructuring and allowing for us to look at what the potentials are. We had an interesting discussion, as we do every time, about what the regional situational awareness around winter issues and that type of thing. And Kipperlyn Sinclair, who is representative from Hillsborough, had the question about reporting federal calls to WACA regarding federal interventions. And I came back yesterday and asked, is it no, it's not understood. Wheaton is now
Commander Wheaton.
Commander Wheaton, but he's also he's interim deputy.
Chief deputy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. But he let me know.
Phone a friend.
Yes, thank you. He let me know that we are in fact taking that information when the officer report fills out the call. They check boxes like mental health component, homeless component, federal activity now, which is new. And
is that WACA wide or is that only for sheriff, deputy, law enforcement?
I don't know that.
There's a difference.
Okay, I will find out. But the point is that this is new, and it's partly to provide the tracking that goes back. We have a state mandate to report ICE requests for assistance through the DOJ as well. So that was an interesting piece.
It would be wonderful if we could get a explanation from the director of WACA.
Good idea.
Shared to all the mayors and city councilors and commissioners here in Washington.
Right. Can we work on that?
Here. Thank you.
Perfect. And I did have a full check-in with Chief Deputy Jim Wheaton after I spent some time yesterday at CWS as well. I have a check-in this week with the county auditor. I have an MPAC meeting where we will be getting an update on future vision and also an informational presentation on supporting the regional economy as well as the SHS new organizational So that's coming. And then Thursday is Grandparents' Day. So I'm excited about it. And I will be attending.
Advance notice for you there, pal.
So yeah,
I'm just
sign-
thinking about that.
sign up.
I didn't know that.
And then Friday, I'm going to be at the governor's Metro Regional Solutions Advisory Committee meeting. Yeah.
Cool. Commissioner Fye or Commissioner Willie?
I can do it if you want to do the FISA, whatever you want to do. Okay. So, well then, on that note of Grandparents' Day on Thursday is why my oldest granddaughter's birthday.
Oh,
So there, she's 29. She can believe that. Yeah, I got a spread 29 to 11. So yeah, I had my
11 already? It's been 7 years, hasn't it? That
It
we've been on
is.
the board together.
Yeah, I'm not even going to lie about what I could. So yeah, so I had a meeting with CD McRae last week. I always enjoy that, get an update from the sheriff's office. Had an onboarding session for the new TV Highway Policy and Budget Committee, which is good to see that kick off again. Again, refreshing the memory of how many studies we've gone through with the TV Highway and making sure that we get something accomplished on this one. We talked about the match and the cost and those things. So there'll be more information forthcoming. Thursday, I had the ROMAC meeting, which is the Rural Roads meeting. Thank you, Courtney, for being there to give us an update on public meetings laws. And it's always good to talk to groups like that because they don't even think about public meeting laws from the standpoint of what they have to comply with and things like that. So it's always good to have that update. We also talked about service calls. And just in case you're wondering, in 2025, they received 1,025 service requests. These service requests are things like vegetation removal, hazards in the road, damage assessments of something, maybe somebody ran into a yard or a guard rail, drainage issues, surface issues. So the phone number is, I wrote that down. It's what? Yeah, 846 Road. I wrote that down someplace. I didn't remember. So yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, that's what you do, and they respond to them. They're very good. Had a COPAC meeting again. This was a special board meeting. The Columbia Economic Team has closed, and that's the economic, basically, group for Columbia County, and they have decided to button that up. So that has had a financial impact and other impacts on COPAC because COPAC provided all the payroll services for them and some other things. So there's some financial stuff that will come back as soon as the board has approved a new fee structure and let you know what they have finally decided. We've gone through about 3 iterations, so it'll be interesting to see what we decide on.
Kind of takes the coal out of coal pack, doesn't it?
Oh, well, Columbia County's still with us. It's just they don't have an economic development team.
Oh, got it.
Okay. No, Columbia County's still on board with us. On last Saturday, I had kind of a meeting with Portland Mayor Wilson. It was good to kind of catch up on some of the things that they're doing, the struggles that he's having with homelessness, and of course with the funding that they have and the lack of funding that they have. But he is taking some pretty aggressive moves to do his best to eliminate the blue tents from the downtown business area and provide certainly shelter services. So they had their cold weather shelter app information available last week as well, handing out I'm assuming blankets and gloves and some warm weather clothing. So they were all over that. went to Forest Grove last night to give them my kind of about every 4 months. I attend all the cities in District 4. And last night was Forest Grove. Metro Councilor Juan Carlos Gonzalez was also there delivering a Metro update. So they got the full gamut of Washington County and Metro last night. So it's always good to go there. Have a fair board meeting tomorrow. I will be there at the LUT spot, micro chance at kickoff. I also have, as you know, Stimson Lumber has been doing a major project on their property. I have a phone call with them on Thursday just to catch up on that. And then I'm thinking about putting up a board where, you can guess how long I'm actually going to be out. So I'm saying 2 weeks and everybody laughs. And so might put up at 0 to 6 weeks. Is that illegal to do that, Alex? That I would have some sort of a
Probably, but you're guessing 2 weeks and we'll all take the over.
Well, if that's the case. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks.
Commissioner Fye, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I want to acknowledge something that many of us are holding right now. This weekend, anonymous federal agents shot and killed again, this time a man in Minneapolis. Another tragic loss of life that has shaken our communities and really raises serious questions about accountability and safety. And I just want to extend my deepest condolences to Alex Peretti and Renee Good. May they rest in peace. I know that this weekend was hard, and in moments like this, our strength doesn't come from turning away. It comes from showing up. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It depends on our willingness to speak up, to listen to one another, and to stand together in defense of human dignity and the rule of law. Our choice is choosing each other always. And I'm very glad to saw the email from our board clerk this morning that we're going to have the conversation about the rule of law, and look forward to that discussion and what I can do. I want to say to our community members, if you see ICE on the streets of Washington County, call the PIRC PERC number, which is 1-888-622-1510. Please stay safe, take care of one another, and continue to stand with your community. Together we can protect our democratic values and move forward with purpose and hope. And with my time left, I want to say that this last week I had the opportunity to attend for the first time as the board liaison for the Community Action Board of Directors. Commissioner Snyder's, everyone had great things to say about you, so you did a great job for that 1 year representation. And I hope to step into your shoes going forward. I also want to just to raise awareness, because I know a while back we did the tour of the new building and update the board about the new name. And this is in reference to the Family Justice Center is now called the Family Peace Center. And I'm on that board, as many of you know. And we had our first of the year board meeting yesterday. Nothing to update you, but I think last time when we did the tour, there was a request or sort of interest to be up to date on that board and movement. I don't represent this board on that board, but I think the staff and I can tag team on what to bring forward to you that is relevant to the board decisions and movement here. What else? And then I don't know what my time is, so stop me, Chair. I don't see any time here.
You have 1:28.
Oh, okay, good. And then a lot of busy events to attend to this week. So I'll see you all around and about and look forward to this busy week. I do meet, I think I update you all last time that there are a bunch of social workers throughout Washington County that I meet with. And we meet every other Monday. And I tell you, I don't know how to bring the information and the community concerns that I'm hearing, how to bring forward so that it's relevant and important to you all. So I look forward to you to tell me, what do you need to know about the community and some of the things that exist so that it's incorporated into your calendars. And so I'd love to invite you all to join me in one of these meetings so that you hear what I'm hearing. Because I feel like we're on different planets here. I feel like we're living in two different Washington counties. And I turn it back to you, Chair Harrington.
Okay, my report out to the board. I met along with Grace with a constituent named Randy McCourt, who has some interest on some potential trail right-of-way proximate to a property that TVWD owns. And so I'll be following up with Grace's full support with LUT to better understand what his interactions have been like with LUT and how, if anything, we might be practicing the art of the possible. I have more to learn. I had the pleasure of reviewing all of the CDBG and home applications as Commissioner Treese has done in prior cycles, and we have that full day of meetings on Thursday. As Commissioner Snyder mentioned, as the two of us are the board subcommittee to bring forward a first proposal for a potential board rule of law resolution and order. We're working on that with assistance from County Council, and we laid out a schedule that I provided to the board clerk that you've seen in email, as Commissioner Fye mentioned. It'll come for board conversation at work session on February 24th. So all 5 of us are available. And depending upon how that goes, potentially for board action on March 3rd. So that's what I have for today. Great. Anything else from any of our board and leadership group for the good of the order? Okay, well, seeing none, we'll adjourn here and see one another starting at 6:30 at our business meeting. Thank you.